Are you truly living life or merely surviving? Whether you want more time, more love, more money, or whether you want it all, we want to help you get there. The best part? Everything you want lies on the other side of fear and self-doubt. It's time to take the leap with your host, Tiffany Toombs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back for this week's episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Tiffany Toombs, and today I'm very excited to be joined by my good friend, James Allen. James is a certified life mastery consultant who can help you design and manifest a life that is in harmony with your one true self. James inspires and empowers all those who are drawn to him to live their highest version of themselves in both their business and personal lives. His passion for teaching clients to unlock their true potential by being the most honest and authentic versions of themselves, to have unstoppable confidence in whatever they do, and to never settle in their lives. James is an inspiring speaker, passionate educator, and highly sought after transformational coach. For over 7 years, this man has studied and implemented transformational success principles, and in doing so has completely flipped his own life around from being depressed and a complete mental wreck to a man whose life is his sandbox. His focus on helping people build their dreams and accelerate their results and create richer and more fulfilling lives. And so, James, thanks for joining me.
Right on. Thank you, Tiffany, for having me on the podcast.
So I just read out your bio. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about us and why you are so passionate about being a coach and helping others transform their lives?
Okay. Yeah. It can go, very deep, but the biggest thing is I just had a really, really messed up childhood pretty much, where my parents were alcoholics and they were involved with drug abuse, and there was a lot of physical violence that I witnessed growing up. And it was really hard. And there were so many times where my parents, it flip-flop, like two faces of a coin. One day it would be completely depressing, where they were screaming at each other, fighting, physically abusing each other. I was never physically abused, but dealing with all of their madness, I was pretty much mentally and emotionally abused. And my sister and I would go over and sit in our room pretty much anytime they would break out, and we would just cry and hold each other because we didn't know what else to do. And then the other day, like I said, they would flip-flop. They would be completely loving on each other. And this was like in my early years, from pretty much my whole childhood. The moment I was 5 to 8 years old was the absolute worst in my family. I later found out from my mom, actually. And it was just going through all that. It just messed me up to where I didn't really have confidence. And I was just an angry, depressed kid, basically. And it spilled all throughout my young years, going through pretty much all throughout high school. And my life, really changed when I read the 4 Agreements. That's when things really changed for me. And I really just spilled into personal development. And I was obsessed with that book to where I'd read it every single day. And I would repeat the agreements to myself. And I don't know why, I think when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and I think I was just ready to really take that leap, and that's how I fell in love with personal development. And then I realized that you can have a job doing that. So that's pretty much what I just devoted my life to.
Awesome. The 4 Agreements is a great book too. It's a game changer for a lot of people, that one.
Oh yeah. It's my foundation still and forever will be.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so you said that reading the 4 Agreements was that point that you decided to take the leap. So what was going on for you? Have you always been in coaching? Did you start somewhere else?
No. So I pretty much, my dad was a welder, and he was in this union in San Francisco called Local 38. And it's the highest paid plumbing union in the world. So he wanted that for me because he wanted to do that. Pretty much that's where he found success. So he wanted me to be in it because that's where he found success. And he just wanted the best for me. So I was pretty much always groomed growing up, going to different events with the union and everything. And then pretty much went into the union right out of high school, basically. And my mom always wanted me to go to college. She was like, go to the JC at least and get your AA. So you always have that. And I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. And then pretty much was like, I can go into the union, get college credits for going to school through. I was a 5-year apprenticeship, and also start making money, because I was making like 25 an hour at like 19. So I was like, this is with benefits and everything. And eventually I was making more than everybody in my family. So it was like, it's kind of a no brainer. Like I can start making money, making more than my friends and everything. And yeah, about a year in, it was really fun. And I was still working on myself with the 4 agreements and everything. It was just kind of what I did. And going in to the union, it was probably about a year into this 5-year apprenticeship. I was like, this just sucks. Like I just felt empty. And the best way I could probably describe it is like, it was like I was checking my soul at the door every time I went to work. And I was like, there's gotta be like something else. And maybe I'm just not like trying hard enough with this or something. So I kind of go against the grain and keep pushing to like find a new way to like enjoy it more. And just no matter what I did, it was like, felt like I was getting deeper in this rut of like, I don't like my work. In the union, I'm super grateful for everything that I learned, because it was really good skill set that I would develop. I was learning like high pressure water systems and HVAC and plumbing and all this great stuff. I learned how to navigate through San Francisco and just different ways of thinking, kind of approaching different problems through all that. But I just couldn't help kick this feeling that like this sucks, basically. And I learned how to skydive. That was a hobby of mine that I just love to do. So I got certified in like 2015. And I was thinking like there's everything outside of my life is super fun. And there's just this one thing called this job that I feel so empty at. So I was like, there has to be something else. And I remember the day that I was like, made the decision. I was got in charge of like fire caulking, which is where the pipes run through each floor going up in the building. And I was on my knees. I had knee pads, but it didn't matter, because when you're on your knees all day, it still hurts. And I'm just like crawling around on the floor, pretty much like had this big box of insulation. So it's all sticky and itchy. And I put it into the hole, and then I would put this fire caulking around. Usually we have like a caulking gun. This time, for this like 2 weeks, probably I was doing this job, I had this giant 5-gallon bucket that we would use, and I had multiple of them with a 2-inch wide spatula. And it was just the fire caulking, which gets super sticky to your skin, and it's itchy because it's got a bunch of fiberglass and other things in it. So I was just getting super filthy in this. And I remember just sitting there just being like, I'm doing something different with my life. I don't know what it is, but I wasn't just going to up and leave because I had a well-paying job. And then it wasn't until I really had a conversation with, it was a Tony Robbins results coach, actually, because I got an email that said, oh, you can have like a complimentary coaching call with this person. So I figured, why not? Check it out. And doing that call, it helped me get clarity. And after the call, I didn't end up signing up for the coaching because I had like all these different paradigms and patterns around money that freaked me out. I'm kind of curious where I would have been if I did do that. But after that call, I was like, I want to do what that guy's doing, because I love personal development. I was pretty much already doing that with my friends because I was teaching them the 4 agreements and the things and how it affected me and changed my mindset to where I was just a happier person in general, really working on myself. And then, yeah, pretty much from there, I just kept looking into coaching, and I would go into my porta potty actually at work. And I like to tell people, you can tell how much you enjoy your work by how much time you spend in the bathroom. And I used to spend a lot of time in the bathroom because I didn't want to be at work. And I'd rather sit in the stinky porta potty than go do this quote unquote high paying, wonderful job that everyone is jealous of or envies me for. And I just felt so empty in it. And then I found my mentor, Mary Morrissey, which is where I got that certified life mastery consultant certification through it's her coaching school, Life Mastery Institute. And just something about Mary, I guess, resonated with me. And I pretty much took that leap into there. And then it was probably like 6 months to a year or so after I was fully certified and everything. And I'm like, okay, well, there's this disconnect because I want to be like making YouTube videos, going on podcasts, coaching people, speaking on stages, and doing all this stuff like a coach is. And I'm sitting here in this construction job, and it was the day after I got back from my training. And this is where I really like took my leap. Was I just was working by myself on this ladder. I was in the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco, and I was like, what if I just left, and my, like all these doubts and fears came up. My body just like clenched. It was like, what if I just left in a month, just up and left and just like did this coaching thing? It's like, no, you can't do that. And then I said, okay. And I'm kind of like negotiating with my doubts and fears. And I said, what if I left in 3 months? And it was like the stress inside of me kind of died down. And I was like, okay, 3 months and I'll finish out this semester of school that I was doing, and I'll work as much overtime as possible, get as much money as I can, like pay off my car and just go for it. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't even pay my car off the whole way, but I committed to it. And yeah, that's when I really took the leap, was making that decision. Cause that's always where I feel like anyone who takes a leap like that, it comes down to you knowing what it is that you would love and then making a core decision, like a bold decision that you're actually going to do it, followed by bold action.
Absolutely. And did you end up staying for that 3 months, or did you leave early?
No, yeah, I stayed for the 3 months, and I worked. I mean, I would have like 1 a.m. starts. I'd work all day, get home by like 4 p.m. And then the next day on a Saturday, have a 1 a.m. start. So I pretty much went to bed as soon as I got home, woke up at 11 p.m. to like get ready for work so I could drive out to the city, because I live about an hour away, and I had to be on time and everything. And yeah, it was weird driving into work and everyone's out in the city partying because it's Saturday night. And I'm like going to work with a 13-hour day ahead of me starting at 1 a.m. And yeah, it was rough, but yeah, I committed to it and I made it happen.
Awesome. The reason I ask that is a lot of people that I know who kind of set that deadline for themselves, they end up just leaving earlier, and they're like, okay, well, I'm just ready now. So I'm just going to do it now.
No, I waited it out because the biggest thing is I really wanted to pay off my car, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I'd rather pay that off than have all like the monthly bills that went through with like interest and everything. So I was just throwing big checks towards it and got rid of that.
Smart idea.
Yep.
So you've been groomed your whole life to do this one thing, which I think is the story of a lot of people, especially a lot of millennials nowadays, but even other generations where, you know, they have to go into the family business, or mom or dad is expecting them to follow in their shoes. So what was your family's reaction to you deciding that you wanted to do something different? And how did you kind of break away from that, living the life that somebody else had laid out for you?
Yeah, it was awkward, but there was 3 people that I knew leading up to this 3 months, like I have to talk with 3 major people. And number 1 was my mom and my dad, you know, those are 2 of them. And I had to talk with my business agent. So I was like, who am I going to talk with first, and kind of numbering them. So I'll talk with my mom, because my parents are very different. My mom's like always been like a total hippie chick, you know, really like into spirituality, and she loves her plants and animals and all this. And I knew her and I just have a way different relationship than like my dad and I do. And I went over and I just told her kind of what I was going to do. And she's like, okay, like, yeah, I mean, it's a big step, you know, but I get like, that's what you want to do. And I'd been talking to her prior to this about like kind of how I've been feeling inside with like work and ideas and everything. But when I actually made the decision, she was very supportive. So I got that out of the way. And then I went over and I talked to my business agent, and he was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And this was like 4 years in to this 5-year apprenticeship too. So I had 1 more year until I was fully vested, and I could always fall back on this like 6-figure cush, crazy good benefits job. But I just knew that if I didn't like it now, I'm not going to like it later in my life. There's not just something is going to change in me. You know, it's what would happen is I would settle, which is actually what I teach people not to do. And I have to set an example for that as well. And I didn't really want to wait that extra year, even though everyone's like, oh, it's just a year, no matter what. But so he didn't really fully understand, but he was being supportive with me anyway. And he gave me, I took a leave of absence when I did it, just to kind of give this coaching thing a shot. And normally you can only get 6 months, and he gave me 1 year, which was super cool because he liked me. And then after I got all that taken care of, I went over and I talked to my dad. And the first time I told my dad, he was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like getting all prepared, getting all tense inside, like, here it goes. Cause like, this is the big one, you know? And I'm like thinking like, what am I going to say if he says this, and all this crazy stuff running through my brain, like making up this big story. And he was just super supportive. And I was like, okay, like I'm actually going to do this. He's like, yeah, it's okay. And then I started actually taking the steps. And I think he thought that I wasn't actually going to do it. Like I was just had some crazy idea and was just going to talk about it. But when you actually start doing it, then it's like, this is real. So he calls me up one day, and I'm coming home from work. And this is probably like maybe like a month or a couple weeks or so after I had just had this initial conversation with him. And he's just like, hey, I want to go get lunch. And I was like, okay, well, I got some things going on. He's like, no, like we need to go get lunch. I'm like, okay. So I go over and we start getting situated. We order our food and we sit down. The whole time he's being tense. Like I walk up, I'm like, hey, Dad, what's going on? Like give him a hug. And he's just like tense. I can just feel it. Something's weird. And we order our food and we sit back down. And he's like instantly just starts wailing on me with his words, basically. Like, because he was talking with someone, he like got all these huge doubts and fears inside of him. And then he's just like pressing them on me of like everything that could go wrong, how like I only have a year left, all this stuff. And I just held my own. I'm like, no, dude, like this is what I'm doing. Cause I made that bold decision with myself, and he just like wouldn't let me talk, kept telling me like, this is like what you need to do basically. And I'm like, no, that what I need to do is what I feel guided to do, which is go do this thing, this coaching thing, and this thing that I want to do. And he kept yelling at me. And I said, Dad, if you keep yelling at me, I'm going to up and leave. And I'm saying that like under him talking over me, basically. And so I just got up and I left. And luckily I had friends that I could just kind of talk with and kind of vent as to what just happened. But that was like the biggest thing. And he was very not supportive after he saw that I was actually doing the thing. But it never stopped me because like I knew it was just something I had to do. Because I didn't want to live that life of every day just staying stuck in the situation that I can't stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot where, people think, oh, okay, yeah, I totally support you. And then they actually see you taking action and it makes them uncomfortable because it brings all of their stuff up.
Yeah. And then they want to press that onto you. And that's the thing. It's like, you can agree to what they're saying, by like scooping up their agreements that they have or their doubts and fears. And then like, now they're your doubts and fears. But the key is you have to be like, anyone who is considering doing that, who's listening to this right now, or maybe is doing it, like you have to be crystal clear as to what it is that you want, make that bold decision and make the bold actions. And you really can't let anything stop you. And I don't really know how much more like simple it really needs to be. If there's any tactics to get around it, it's pretty much just, you got to own it, because it's your life. It's so valuable.
Absolutely. So what would you say has been your biggest lesson so far?
Biggest lesson? I've had times in this where honestly, I've had moments that were really rough where I've considered like, I'm just going to go to the military and just be like a pararescue man. Because I always thought that was like the cool, if I was, that would be the coolest job, because you get to skydive and scuba dive and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know, just kind of realizing like, what am I doing? But the biggest lesson is like, you cannot give up, because there's so many times, so many bumps in the road, and the juice has to be worth the squeeze, really. I think that's like the biggest thing. Like even that conversation with my dad is like, I could have just given in to what somebody else thought was the best for me, rather than listening to what I think is the best for me, taking like total ownership of your life, basically. It's, that's just been huge. And it's carried on to other areas of my life as well. And just decisions that I make with people that I'm going to stay with or anything like that. It's just like learning how to be guided by yourself. And that's what I really like to talk about, is self-leadership, and self is in bold, basically. It's listening to that part of you. And because if you don't, then you just live a life of pain. So always developing that and being like highly tuned to it has been a huge lesson for me. And it's led to me being happy just in general.
Absolutely. I love that. The juice has to be worth the squeeze.
Yep.
It's a good one. And what has been your biggest win so far, would you say?
My biggest win? Oh, wow. There's a lot. But there's one that kind of sticks out for me. And that was, I do CrossFit. That's like my exercise regimen that I enjoy. And what I like to do, what I found helps my performance, if anyone is open to this idea, is I eat a banana and I have a spoonful of honey right before I go to the gym. And I don't really eat anything before that, because one day I was in a rush and I just kind of ate that, and I ended up performing in the gym way better. So that's like my thing, is I like to have a banana and a spoonful of honey. And one day I was so broke in my business and I just had nothing for like this huge lull period. And I was like literally counting change inside in my wallet, because I had no cash. I had nothing in my bank account. So I'm like, expecting some money to come through, and I'm literally sitting there on my bed counting this change in my pocket to get a banana before I go to the gym. And I remember like going through that situation, I started laughing. And I was like, why am I laughing right now? And it's because like I know that it's not going to be this way for the rest of my life. And again, it comes down to making that decision of like, I'm not going to let it be this way for the rest of my life, you know, or even for the next week, we'll say. And I think that was like a huge win for me, was being able to even in that situation where I literally had nothing, I'm counting change to get like 60 cents for a banana so I can go work out and have something in my stomach and be laughing during it, because like I just know like this is going to be a great story later on in my life. I think that was a huge win for me that kind of just popped into my head.
I love that. And I think that even the way that you frame that up is so powerful for people. I decided that it wasn't going to be this way, and I just knew.
Yep.
And like just having that knowing, even if you don't always know like the how it's going to come about or where the money is going to come from or where the next client is going to come from. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your business as well. There are times where I'm like, I have no leads coming in. Like, I don't know where I'm going to get my next client. And then all of a sudden the universe is just like, here you go. As long as you're putting in that work and you haven't given up on yourself.
Yeah. Something cool that my mentor taught me was Mary Morrissey. She says, when you get definite with the universe gets definite with you. And when we get definite with the universe, it's making that definite decision, you know, of saying, this is what I want. Just like a short example is like, I was in a relationship, I got out of a relationship. I really wanted a more quality relationship. And I met this, or I was thinking like, do I really want a relationship? I'm kind of fun, like having fun, like being a playboy a little bit, because I was seeing like different people, whatever. It's like, and I'm focusing on the business. And then as soon as I was like really definite, and it was pretty amazing. This is just one thing that stands out. But as soon as I like pretty much said to God or the universe or life that this is what I want. Like I want a relationship, because I personally love being in relationships. I love the chemistry and everything. It just makes it a lot more fun to have like a best friend like that. And as soon as I made that definite decision, like, yes, this is what I want, I swear within a week or two, I met this amazing girl and we're still together. And it's just been so effortless and natural. It's like, dude, where were you the whole time? You know what I mean? But it wasn't until I really got definite. And I feel like the same way with business, same way with your health, getting definite that you want to be in shape, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And so to wrap up, if you had one piece of advice for the people that are listening to this and they're on the fence, they want to take the leap, they just are doubting themselves or they don't know where to start, what would you tell those people?
Okay. Just like a quick little formula, I would say, is first, you got to know what it is that you really want. And the way that you do that is, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what I want. So yes, you do, because when you're sitting in your job or the relationship or your health or whatever it is that you don't like, you're thinking about things that you would enjoy. You know, you're like, I would love to just not have weight. And if you're really having trouble finding out what you would really love, then just say, well, okay, well, what would I not love? And then flip it to the polar opposite. And then you found what you love. The biggest question is to ask yourself, what would I really love? Because that's different than asking yourself, what do I think I can have? Or what might I like to have? It's what would you genuinely love? And I use that all the time. Even like I was considering, I was going to clean my desk, and it was like, how would I love my desk to look like? You know what I mean? So asking yourself, what would you love? And then being bold, I think, is the biggest thing. Like, make a bold decision like I did, and like I still do and always have. Make the bold decision and take bold actions towards that thing that you would love. And you have to just do the things. And when you do them, the universe starts showing up for you in ways that you could have never imagined, because people are so focused. We've been trained really to focus on all the negative. So we're focused on why things won't work, what we can't have, why things aren't going to happen the way that we plan on them. So people are so focused on all the negative possibilities rather than shifting their brain to all of the positive opportunities that are out there. And I believe that comes from knowing exactly what you would love, what lights you up, and making a bold decision that you're actually going to go for it, and then doing it and taking bold actions towards that. So asking yourself, just question. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions. What is a bold action that I can take in the direction of that thing that I would love? And I think that right there is very valuable. It helps me still today, and it has helped me so many times in my life.
Awesome. So many great takeaways and quotes from this one today. So James, where can people connect with you on social media?
You can check out my Instagram. It's I am the real James Allen, because James Allen's a very common name and the real James Allen was taken. So I said, all right, I am the real James Allen. So I am the real James Allen is my Instagram. And there's a link in there. You can check out my YouTube channel as well. It's kind of like the hub basically. Or you can find me on Facebook as well. Just at James Allen. But Instagram would be the best way to help you lead to everything else. And you can check out my website, which is another great way to find everything else. And it's localleaders.net.
Beautiful. And all of that information will be in the show notes for people to find you. So James, thank you so much for joining me today. There's so much value that you've given in the last 20 or 30 minutes, however long we've been talking for. And so many Instagrammable quotes. People are going to have to listen to this and name some of your stuff.
There you go. Awesome.
So thank you for joining me.
Yeah. Thank you, Tiffany.
And for everyone listening, we will be back again next week with another episode of Take the Leap. In the meantime, please feel free to connect with James on social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please make sure to leave us a review so that we can help more people just like you take the leap.